So welcome to the back lever Manna front split workout. So your basic back lever, just got the feet on the ground, using the rings and lifting up. If you can't quite get off the ground in this position, that's fine. You just want to get a nice pull through there and then get a nice stretch as you're coming down. Really open up the front of those shoulders into extension. You can use the different grips, so internal, parallel and external rotation. I like the external rotation for the extra stretch. But I do feel a nice stretch on the internal as well, so that's just different. And then getting that pull with the lift off and then going into the tuck and then controlling the descent. So this month we're focusing on the eccentric, but you want to have that nice control all the way through, get a nice pull so you get the concentric, and then you can even slow down towards that horizontal position where it's heaviest to get a nice isometric, or even at the end range at the bottom there, pause there, or at whatever stage you want to develop. So here, just doing the tuck as I'm coming down, you can see maintaining the tuck instead of piking down makes it a lot heavier, and then you can just touch the toes after you get that M range coming down and releasing. So that works quite well. You can raise the rings up. This makes for a heavier pull, so really got to pull the shoulders forward and pull the core in and pike up, going into the tuck and then lowering down. And because it's a larger range of motion, then that's going to challenge it more, so you want to get strong in that M range, really open right up there. So I'm using more of a parallel grip there and coming right down, and then that pull out of the bottom is a heavy concentric pull. So it's good to use an easier version on the way up and then a heavier version on the way down when you're advancing, and then controlling, coming right down into a pike version, which is heavier stretch and strengthen. So here using a bar is quite good, and it's a heavier, I'm really staying low in that so that toes can go through while they're pointed, going to a nice dead hang, that German hang position, and pulling into that pike and coming back. So you can work it dynamically for reps, get that isometric at the bottom, or just working that slow eccentric and even letting go when you get to the bottom so you don't have to pull back up again on the bar. So this is a heavier version here, opening up that open tuck position, really trying to pull the shoulders towards or away from the rings towards the head, so that way the weight stays even. So getting a bit of an isometric and then coming down is a bit of an older clip. So just using the straddle version, keeping that nice length in the spine and really trying to get that pause there. So here, using the floor for the Manna variation, the fingers are facing forward, so it's almost like an internal rotation in that position. But then you're controlling coming down, leaning the shoulders back a little bit, touching the butt. Then you can go into a parallel type grip there with the fingers facing away. A little bit easier on the wrists, makes it a little bit easier to lean back, and then press through into that L, tucked L position, which ends up bridging the gap between the L sit and the planche. So here, leaning back, and then I've got the fingers facing back, so it's a much heavier stretch on the forearms and the wrists, leaning right back, trying to keep the shoulders back as I bring the butt down and bring the butt through. The more you can keep the shoulders back there, the heavier, and then getting that lift there, and then just moving the wrists a bit. Here, it's good to use a wall like you would for the planche. That way you can work out how far you're going, and then if you're just doing isometric holds, or you're lowering into it, that end point, and if you're reaching the same point for each rep. And then here's a slider version, pressing through, and then lifting up into that pike. Got the fingers facing forward there, squeeze, and working pretty hard there. And then the raised version here is quite nice, so you've got the feet up, and that way you get more extension in the shoulder. And then here, trying to get that lift, and then trying to get that press up out of it, not quite making it there. And then we've got the front split. So working the basic version is just like that long lunge, deep, really trying to stretch and strengthen that back hip flexor and that quad in that position, and really getting down deep. The stronger you can get it there, that's going to help your lunges, but also help the front split. And then the other side of it is the hamstring, so just hinging forward through the hip. So if I'm lowering down eccentrically in one and then eccentrically here, it's really going to assist that strengthening for when you're doing both legs at the same time. So when you do one side, it's always important to use the same stance and position. So I like the lines because it helps me reference the distance. I've got one side that's a bit more flexible. This side is a lot easier compared to the other side, especially in that hip flexor and quad on the back leg. And then the hip hinge feels about the same, but I have a slight leg length discrepancy and different adaptations that have occurred because of that. So this helps me try and balance it out and just stay conscious and aware to improve it. Here's the slider version, lowering down eccentrically. So you can take the strength from the previous exercise and then put it into here, get that control. And then just making sure that both sides are the same, so that way you've got nice balance through the pelvis and that one side doesn't go further than the other. So usually the best thing to do is just kind of back off on a side that's stronger and just let the other side catch up, because the most important thing for your hips and back is balance, unless you've got an injury and it's that much different, and then you have what's called well leg training or well arm training, which will help the other side heal, but you don't want to further the imbalance too much. Here's some flossing just in that forward bend to really get that nice hamstring mob. You can do it with a straight back or like I'm doing here with a rounded back. So it's another way to just improve that range of motion, because sometimes the nerves can tether in the muscle. So get that back to me, film it, get some work done. I like around 4 rounds. Sometimes I use a 3-minute round, but just work with what works for you. Really pay attention to your technique. Filming helps so much, and so much for your awareness, because a lot of the times what you think you're doing or what you feel you're doing is not what's actually happening. So when you do film, you get that feedback, and then if you can get that to me on a private Instagram account and show me, then I can better coach you, and you can better coach yourself as well by seeing yourself. So get it done, and I'll see you soon.